Everyone, and welcome to this review note. In this clip, we're going to be creating a Linux virtual machine instance in Amazon AWS. I've already logged on to my Amazon account. This is the way that you're going to see the screen set up if it's the first time you've logged in and you have not created anything. We're going to be doing another video creating a Windows virtual machine. We'll show you what that looks like if you've already logged in once. I'm going to select on this link that says Launch a Virtual Machine, which will prompt us for some information. First thing we need to do is choose what OS we're going to use. I'm going to pick the Amazon Linux AMI SSD type, meaning it's going to install onto solid state. You'll notice that there's quite a selection here of different virtual machines that you can choose from. Since I'm using a free account, it's important to note where it says free tier eligible so that you don't end up getting charged any extra money. I'll select this guy, and we're going to confirm that this is a T2 micro instance, which is what we want. We'll go next to configure. This is going to be a single instance that I'm going to create. I'm not going to bother setting up anything different with the network because I don't have any network configuration in the background, so that's good the way that it is. Just to review as well, it's going to create an 8 GB virtual disk drive, which is plenty for what we want to do. You'll notice it's general purpose solid state. And I'm not going to bother adding any tags with this. We'll just say we want to review and launch. Some additional information comes up with respect to security groups and that, and we're going to handle that a little bit later on. So I'm just going to tell it that I want to launch. And one of the things that we have to do is specify a key pair because Amazon insists that we use keys to authenticate rather than using passwords because it's more secure. I'm going to create a new key pair. I'm going to name this something that's going to be unique, and then I'm going to download that key pair so that I have access to that to authenticate a little bit later on. So it wants to know what we're going to do. I want to save the file, and that is now downloaded that key, so we're good to go from there. Just going to launch the instance, and that is going to start launching the VM up on Amazon's and in their cloud environment. Going to scroll down to the bottom of this and click on View Instances. We will see, get rid of that notification. We'll see that here is our instance. It's already running. We can see from a status perspective that it is initializing at this point. And we'll give that a second to finish up. Okay, we're back from that. We can see that the status, everything is checked and the VM is now running. One of the things we're going to want to do is ensure that we don't have people connecting to this virtual machine publicly other than ourselves. A number of different ways to go about doing that. The one thing I'm going to do, I'll scroll up at the bottom here, and in the description of this particular instance, there's a number of different pieces of information here, but one of them is security groups. And Launch Wizard 3 is the name of the security group that was created by default. Before I actually go to that, I'm going to change the name of the virtual machine. So under name, I'm just going to click on Edit and put in a name so that it makes some sort of sense. Then I'm going to click on this link to the security group. Here's that security group here, and I will bring this up a bit. On the inbound rules, this is going to determine what is allowed to connect into that particular instance. Right now, what we can see is there's one rule allowing SSH, and the source for that is all zeros for the network. And what that means is that anybody can connect publicly, which is not really what we want to do. So I'm going to edit that particular rule, and I'm going to change the source And we can change this to anything we want, but I'm going to change it to my IP. And that's going to match the IP address from where I'm working right now. And it's going to put a description here that I'm SSH from my home office. Save that out. And this now means that we're restricting secure shell access to that instance to the IP address that's at my home office. And we'll pop back up here to our instances. So basically, we're now finished setting up that configuration on the Amazon side. Next thing that we have to do is set up on our end so that we can connect to that. Now we're going to use PuTTY to connect in using Secure Shell from Windows, which is a pretty common thing to do. But the PEM file that downloaded with the key is not something that PuTTY can deal with, so we're going to have to convert that. Going to use a utility called PuTTYgen. I'll launch that. And when I do that, I'm going to want to load in the key that we downloaded. So here's my key file here. So I'll import that, and what I'm going to do then is save that out as a file that can be recognized and used by PuTTY. So we'll just say save private key. Now I'm going to save it without a passphrase, so that way we don't have to type in the password every time we want to use it to authenticate. And we'll put that in the documents file, or folder I should say. And that's all we need to do with that. So I'm finished with PuTTYgen, and if I look in my documents folder, here is that key that's going to be usable by PuTTY to connect in remotely. Now we'll launch PuTTY and try this out. So I'm going to run the file. Now the way we're going to connect is by using the FQDN that goes to my server. If I go back into my console and have my virtual instance selected, we can see the public DNS address here. I'm going to copy that. And then we'll paste that into the host name in PuTTY. You can use the IP address if you like, but I prefer to use names if we could all possibly can do that. Now we have to specify how we're going to authenticate. So in connection and data, I'm going to use a username that we're going to specify to connect into or authenticate with that key. Amazon automatically creates a user ID EC2-user, so that's going to be the username part. Now we have to specify the key as well. So if I look under SSH and auth, one of the things here I can do is browse for that key that I created. So I'm going to, in my documents directory, pick that PPK file that we exported a few minutes ago using PuTTYgen. I'll open that. And that's essentially going to set up my session. I'll go out and save that just to make it a little bit easier to use later on. And now I'm ready to authenticate and log in. If I open this, it's going to prompt me that there's a security alert because we're using a self-signed certificate. I'll accept that, and we can see that I've successfully logged in as EC user onto the instance. That's really all we need to do. I'll log out of this so I can show you how to destroy that instance when we're finished with it. On the actual instance itself, right-click or use actions, whichever you prefer. I'm interested in the instance state. If I stop, that means it's going to shut down that particular instance. As long as it's shut down, you're not going to be charged any money with your free account, or it's not going to go towards your credits. If I terminate, then that's going to shut down the instance and delete it at the same time. I don't want this to be hanging around. I'll say terminate. It's going to give me a warning that this is going to be permanently deleted. Yes, that's fine. And when that's done, we will see that the instance state will be terminated. The instance itself will not disappear out of your inventory at this point in time. It will remain visible until the garbage collection works on AWS, and that image will be deleted at that point in time. And that's pretty much a wrap for creating, connecting into, and destroying a Linux instance on EC2. Hopefully this video has been helpful for you, and we'll see you next time.